and welcome to Made from Humans, How Reality Becomes TV. I'm your host, Andy Dennert, the creator of Reality Blurred and a writer who believes in the power of true stories. Every week I'll take you behind the scenes of reality TV and my writing about it. On this week's episode, in today's very special episode, a Project Runway 22 Episode 2 recap and review and reaction with a special guest star. Is this second episode making us want to flee like Nina Garcia did? Plus, news about the challenge and a reality TV couple, plus two very different recommendations. And stick around to the very end for life advice from our Jurassic Park and reality TV show star. Welcome. Thank you for joining me this week and on a different day and time than usual. Not that I have a consistent time, but it's Thursday night instead of Wednesday sometime. So here we are right after the premiere of Project Runway 22 Episode 2. So if you're listening to this and haven't yet watched that episode and care about knowing what occurs during that episode, both eliminations and otherwise, don't listen to that segment until after you watch the episode. So basically, spoiler alert. But first, as Big Brother's host says, I have some unscripted updates for you. This is where I discuss something from the news and two brief news items. The first is that season 42 of MTV's Challenge will premiere next month. That's August. And it is not going to be on MTV anymore. So the show that premiered and was created as a spin-off of The Real World and Road Rules back in the 1990s, late 1990s, is abandoning cable and going to Paramount Plus. I was looking at MTV's website, and I still need to do a little more research on this before I publish something about it, but I'm thinking that MTV is left with, the technical term is fuck all, because there's no shows except RuPaul's Drag Race that are currently scheduled to be there. And RuPaul's Drag Race wouldn't even return until January anyway. So for all we know, they might move it as well. But basically they're out of new shows. And that's kind of awful that MTV is just going to become abandoned. The next piece of news from the news is that Matt Rogers and Frasier from Below Deck have decided to, quote, mutually decided to part ways. So they've been dating since last November. At least that's when they told everyone about it. And they told People magazine today, which is July 16th, 2026, that, quote, they remain friends. And I say they, it is actually a source close to the couple to give people this exclusive news. And the only reason I'm mentioning it, because I usually don't do gossipy or there's so much of the personal lives of reality TV stars that it's impossible to track it all, even for the tabloids. I just find it to be amazing that they announced their breakup in an exclusive to People magazine. They've been dating for 7 months. Sorry that it didn't work out, but also just, yeah. This is what you have to do if you're an actor or reality star, is you must keep yourself in the news at all times. Like one of our cats is currently trying to do by tapping me on the leg and keep herself in this conversation. For more news, go to realityblurred.com/newsletter. Sign up. My newsletter every Friday has a bunch of links and summaries to things I think are interesting, and not every piece of news in the world, but a curated list just for you. So if you're not already on my newsletter, get that. Okay, on to a brand new department, a couple of recappers. This is where I recap a show that just aired with a special guest who you may be, who's currently laughing at the title because I didn't tell him about this. My guest is a visual artist, a teacher of teachers, the co-guardian to our three cats, and my husband, Nick Geisel. Welcome, Nick. Thank you for being my first ever live special guest and to join me on a couple of recappers here.
Hey, Andy, thanks, and it's kind of fun to use our dining room table for something. So it's a great opportunity to chit chat about our TV watching.
Currently, there's two towels where the cats lay all day or lie. It's getting even more used today as well. What you're saying. So that's good. So we just watched Project Runway season 22, episode 2, which started with the resolution of the cliffhanger from last week about the designers that are going home. So I wanted to start there, just reactions to them getting rid of everyone except for Jeffries, which included Drag Race's Plain Jane and Q/Robbie How did you feel about the exit of them?
I sort of assumed that Plain Jane was sort of a stunt cast anyway in this process, so that was not a shocking reveal to me. And I guess it's unfortunate that the piece that Robbie brought along to showcase his work was that particular piece. I sort of don't know what he was thinking bringing that, because I don't think it showcases his gifts, and nor do I think was it particularly fashionable. So it's a confusing start to this season overall of Project Runway.
I mean, it felt like they said that they had unlimited time to design these, but it also felt like they called them on the way out the door and were like, just grab an outfit and bring it with you, because Plain Jane's was just something she wore on the show. Robbie's, like you said, is not indicative of his work. So
Right. And I guess I'm wondering why would they even make that challenge the first challenge? Why not just pick talented designers from the application process like normal and start them out on the show with a challenge? That's sort of what the crucible of this show is meant to be. It's meant to sort of be putting them through this gauntlet of a different structure around design, to get them to create new things under pressure.
what did you think of, I mean, the second challenge was not exactly a Project Runway challenge either, right?
Which is interesting because they kept calling it a Project Runway challenge, but really it was make something in a day, which is with a $500 budget, which so there were constraints, but it also didn't seem like a Project Runway challenge because they could make literally whatever they want.
Yeah, any fabric, anything for mood. There's nothing.
Right. So I'm sort of calling the first two episodes of this season, both are kind of strikeouts, and also the I don't know, sort of terrible gameplay that's happening. There's sort of terrible structure to the show so far. It doesn't make me interested to see more of the show.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I was that way last season, which just got increasingly disappointing, and I'm sorry to see that they basically doubled down on everything. Like the big twist of episode 2, I guess if you want to call it a twist, is they eliminated these 6 designers, and now they're going to eliminate 5 more. One of those people gets to be saved by a jury of 12, the 6 who are immune and the 6 who got eliminated. So, and the immune people didn't even create some of the best stuff. So now we have like some actually good designers going home unless they play a social game. Like, what the fuck why is this Survivor? I love Survivor. This is not what this show is about.
Does Project Runway need strategic gameplay?
No, not at all. And I did make a note for my written recap of what you just said, which is it was Joseph McCrae.
Yeah.
All one word, saying like Project Runway is not just about the clothes. It's a direct quote. It's now about the tactics. And yeah, it's like, we don't need tactics.
And I think there's enough interesting tactics that maybe come into play when you have an interesting challenge and the time constraint, a budget constraint, or some other prompt that they're given. Like there's enough tactical decisions that have to go into, oh, I'm going to choose this type of fabric or this type of piece versus this, or this is now the time when I want to try to deploy this kind of silhouette for making this garment. That they didn't need to put in this voting element as well, because it doesn't add anything. It doesn't add anything to the show.
No, it's a bunch of artificial drama, which is last year. I actually liked the first challenge, which they put them into like the fashion houses and then gave a team captain and made them design something that, they had to design a cohesive collection, but then they each got to do their own piece. So like that felt like a good example of this, where they still get to do their own work, but then there's some drama inside that. But this is just like, we're just going to drop the design to be not interesting or anything at all. And it's just going to be about like whether or not you want to appease Plain Jane, who's going to leave the show.
I'm curious if you're in the show right now, what's going through your head if you're going to be voting for one of these characters to stay?
I'm probably going to be, I guess, like, if you're going to give me an opportunity to be strategic, I'm going to get rid of the strongest designer that I can, somebody who I think will actually create some kind of threat. But you look like you have a different strategy.
Well, do you think you'd have a different strategy if you were in the group that was already eliminated versus the group that was the old top 6 who had immunity this challenge?
Oh, gotcha. Like, yeah, if you have immunity, you probably want to you probably actually care who sticks around, either because you want good competition and to be around good designers, or because you want to eliminate your competition. But the 6 who are going home probably just want to create chaos,
Yes.
I would guess.
Yeah, that's my guess too. I think if I was in one of the eliminated groups, I would try to create as much chaos in that workroom as possible at that point. So versus if I was in the safe 6, maybe then I'm thinking more about like merit, like who is a person who would be a good challenge, or who like I could actually see wanting to work with or be around more. Whose work do I still find inspirational or interesting in this group of people, even if they're maybe not my favorite person.
Right. And so like the chaos version is this keeping B so Brian has a foil.
Totally. Yeah. I would say the most chaotic decision that this group can make is keeping B in the room, because B and Brian up until this point have been contentious with each other. So if I wasn't going to be in the competition anymore, I would want to keep that workroom, keep the pressure up in that workroom.
Yeah. This episode was amazing. And I guess like if this was a different show, I would probably be appreciating some of these elements more as just comedy. But like every time they cut to Brian, he's like telling someone like B was my intern, and like just being so condescending about it. And then like all of a sudden he starts crying during voting to be like, you should keep B around because he's the best friend you'll ever have, which I don't even know there's none of that even feels genuine anymore. It just feels like I don't know what his game is, if he has one.
Maybe he had a revelation in the course of that 24-hour period and realized that he was being a jerk the whole time. Who knows? Who knows? We'll have to stay tuned to find out more, right?
Yeah. Which, speaking of, I know we both had this reaction last week, but like it is so obnoxious to wait for the elimination for the next week.
Yeah. Horrible. Makes sense if you're going to be binging a bunch of episodes. You leave me on a cliffhanger. Okay, fine. But like the next one, I can get served up right away and I can watch it. I can finish that cliffhanger. Great. In this structure of waiting that week to see the end result of this, it's horrible, because now part of me goes like I don't know if I really care enough to turn the TV on again to watch this next episode. So am I gonna keep coming back? Is it gonna work as a hook to keep me coming back and watching this? I don't think so.
Yeah. Maybe that they're like, we annoy them enough, they'll show up at the next episode to see this. But I also feel like it starts each episode off on a weird foot, because it's like this kind of downer that kicks things off. And I'm even more dogmatic than you about like binging on Netflix. I don't like it when they do it on Netflix shows like The Mole, because I think an episode should be an episode, a contained unit of television. And for strategic competitions or elimination competitions, craft whatever we want to call. I don't know what Project Runway is anymore. It used to be kind of talent and craft.
Yeah, creative competition.
And now it should be. But now mixed with, yeah.
If you could have made one change to this episode that we just watched, season 22, episode 2, what change about the game would you have made?
I would have made it a real challenge with some actual direction. And I don't know if I'm now cheating here and just saying like one person gets eliminated by the judges and that's it. And you do have 6 people immune, so you shouldn't be eliminating that many people with that much immunity. So I guess that's the one thing I would really change, is with so many people immune, you're going to get rid of somebody who's actually good with that many eliminations. So I would change it to 1 elimination if I had that one change.
And I don't mind the so many people getting eliminated. There's something interesting about like really cutting down the groupings of people in these wide moves. The thing that annoyed me the most about this episode is the immunity part. I would say there was no immunity for that top 6. Their special ability for winning top 6 the first week was getting to be part of this vote, kind of no matter where anybody placed. And I think that's the trick that they're missing. It's the Heidi Klum's line at the end, or at the start of every runway, is like, one day you're in and the next day you're out. And I think the concept of immunity in a show like this totally undercuts even that sort of thesis statement of that catchphrase of the show. And then it, of course, as a result, because we had 6 people that had immunity, we had 6 people who, I don't know if that was their best work that they could have done in one day. Right. Looking at that, looking at their pieces, the top 6 from the previous week, there were maybe a couple people in there that I said, oh yeah, that was a good look. Like I would that person would be at least safe this round. But I don't think there was anybody in that top 6 that had a winning look in this episode.
Yeah. No.
So I would I would have said no immunity at all for that top 6. Their special ability, like their special thing for winning, is maybe that they still get to be part of this voting process for the second episode.
I mean, way to use Project Runway's tagline against it, which is great. I think the only good thing about, for me, getting rid of so many people is that the show or the season might be over in August or by August, because if we could drop 5 people a week, it's going to be just...
So there you have it, folks. Watch the show because it'll be over soon.
Yeah. I mean, like, and I joked at the beginning that Nina Garcia didn't even show up, but like last season, she was barely on the show, even though she's a permanent judge. She's not here in the second episode. And my hunch about this is because of a really reduced production budget and schedule. They just burned through these one-day challenges last year, and she just couldn't make it for the schedule they chose, and so they didn't hold for her. But anyway, yes.
Speaking of the judging panel, though, I think the maybe one of the better decisions that the show made is giving Law Roach a foil on the judging panel in Tyra Banks. And now Tyra Banks, it has many problems in general, but having the two of them being able to play off of each other on that judging panel, I think is going to make the judging a lot more fun to watch, a lot more interesting to watch, and a lot more dynamic over the course of the season.
Yeah, I didn't love the casting of Tyra just in general, but I agree. And I also think Law has been much better than last season. I really didn't. So much of Law's critique last season was like personal, and this season he's really been focused on the close. He's still a little bit like, he's probably sharper than some people would like. And
what judges on Project Runway haven't been sharp in the past? Like, right. Project Runway's always had sharp, hypercritical judges.
Right. But they've just been like relentlessly focused on the challenge and the close. Last question, and we'll wrap this segment up. And not that I'm interviewing you here, but I just have a question. Nick, I know I've written about this before, but Nick is the person who got me back into watching Drag Race after I gave up season 1 because I couldn't watch all of I just stopped because it was so gauzy and annoying. Is Project Runway becoming more like Drag Race now, which is just a platform on which you go off to show as much stuff as you can, even though the whole thing is artificial and bullshit and the competition parts are a joke, in the sense that like Project Runway used to be about the craft and talent, and I think Drag Race was that way, and now has drifted far into this social game, all of those elements. I'm throwing a lot at you here.
Yeah, shots fired about the artificiality of Drag Race. What do you mean that's artificial? That has to totally be totally. I can't even say the sentence without laughing.
Yeah.
These couple episodes have definitely been much more about this strategic decision making, and these moments where like the judges aren't actually doing the judging, the contestants are doing the judging, and I don't know if that makes for interesting competition reality to me. There's something about wanting to see people excel at craft or try something that is really, really challenging and take a risk and do something, whether or not it actually ends up being successful or not. That the strategic parts of this are taking away from what makes this style of competition reality show interesting in the first place. The creative competition part of it, because then it's no longer about the creative competition. We spent so much more time in this episode in those confessionals where people are like, oh, well, who am I going to vote to save in this process? Who do you think we're going to vote to save?
Right.
And those conversations only distract from the actual core of what the show is going for, which is creating or showcasing people's design work.
Yeah. Or at least what it used to go for before it moved to freeform and they decided to turn it into this.
Right.
Well, thank you for helping me process in real time and challenge my thinking, and also being my very first live guest. We'll probably do this again in the future if I can find you. I know that you're hard to book, and
so literally I get home earlier today and Andy says, hey, we're in the next 30 minutes or we're gonna watch the show, do you want to just record something afterward? And I was like, oh yeah, Andy, I've been asking to have these kinds of conversations for years, and I've been wanting to work on something with you creatively, professionally for years, so this is sort of a fun. I am hoping that this becomes a recurring segment, if not every episode, but on occasion. So look for me in the next season, folks.
And luckily I can edit things out. Okay, on to recommendations, where I share things that are bringing joy and entertainment into my life. First up is Nation's Dumbest on Fox, Wednesday nights at 9. This is a show I didn't think I would like, but I actually really loved, and Nick loved it too. We watched it together yesterday, although I didn't keep him around to talk about it. It's just the perfect amount of stupidity and actual competition, and in a package that knows what it's doing but also doesn't completely dismiss it. It's a really interesting tonal balance and tightrope that the show and its host Jack Whitehall walk, but they do it perfectly. So we're getting a bunch of quote unquote celebrities, really like we're not even the D-list anymore. We have to go way down the alphabet. But everybody from like Anthony Michael Hall, the actor, to Elle King, the singer, to Steve-O from Jackass, and Andrew Yang, the former presidential candidate, are competing across 5 rounds in every episode and answering in 4 of those rounds trivia questions. And some of those are actually tricky and hard enough to be entertaining and challenging for us at home. At least for me, I thought, I don't know if I would know that off the top of my head. Some of them I didn't know immediately. And that's actually really helpful in a show like this, that it's not just us feeling superior to the cast the whole time, because that would get a little bit boring. But at the same time, they get to surprise us with things that they know or they're able to recall under this kind of pressure. So it moves quickly. There's a ton of questions. Every episode starts with a kind of brain teaser. It's kind of like a Taskmaster challenge that each celebrity does independently. And then they go on to these kind of group challenges where they're given trivia questions or have to do a challenge together that involves answering questions. And along the way, they either earn or lose stars. They can go as low as 1 and as high as 3, and those become their lives in the very last round, which is like Final Jeopardy, except they get up to 3 chances. If they have 1 star and get a question wrong, they are out. And by out, I mean they go back into the classroom to be in next week's episode. The person who lasts the longest and gets the most questions right actually is out, as in they go home, because they're not the dumbest. So it's kind of a fun format in that way, though it means we lose the smartest people up front. Anyway, give this a shot. It's really, again, surprising how light and also substantive it was. I'm using a lot of contradictory terms, but I think that describes it well. Next up is a show I'm recommending because its star died last weekend, and that person is Sam Neill, the actor who I'm sure you know from all kinds of film projects and television projects from over the years, and everything from The Piano to The Hunt for Red October to what are some of his TV shows, Peaky Blinders, and of course he's best known for playing Dr. Grant in 3 Jurassic Park movies, and he died in Australia last weekend. He had an unscripted show that aired on Ovation in the US a few years ago called The Pacific in the Wake of Captain Cook. And it was interesting because it's not the typical celebrity travels around the world to basically go on vacation and let a TV network pay for it. Instead, it was a really important story for him to explore as somebody who grew up in New Zealand, wanted to explore the effect and impact Cook had on the places that he visited. And the show doesn't shy away from all of the bad. There's an episode or 2 on YouTube, and it's streaming in other countries, so you might have to fly to those countries to see it. It is not currently streaming in the US, but I'm curious if Ovation might bring it back, or we'll see it somewhere else, especially now given Sam Neill's death. Okay, that's everything for today. Thanks so much for listening. Feel free to send me your feedback, questions, and thoughts. And if you're in a 5-star mood, tap those in your podcast app of choice right now, because your ratings and reviews really do help me out. Our theme song today is Cheery Monday by Kevin MacLeod, and this episode is by me, Andy Dennert, and is copyright 2026 by Reality Blurred LLC, which is also me. You can find me at realityblurred.com and andydennert.com. I'll leave you today with life advice from reality TV, this time from Sam Neill, who's introducing his show here, but also giving us a good script to follow as he did in his production of the series.
here a disclaimer. Look, I'm not an historian. I'm not a navigator, I'm not a sailor, I'm not an expert at anything really, I'm just an actor. But I am vitally interested, and I hope that you will be too,